There is a push that we call gravity. It's not a pulling. The pulling is dielectric acceleration, dielectric voidance. It's not gravity. It's not gravity. But from on high, the solar rotating energy is saying it is pushing. We do feel that force. It is magnetic. Magnetism is expanding. It is magnitude. It is force. Dielectricity is the opposite. It is inertia and acceleration. So and then he quoted Marconi. You saw it. You saw he said, Marconi and we made an antenna that penetrates the earth, and then it extends up into the heavens, and it receives the solar energy and the earth energy. So what he did is he put a strobe light on their fields, and he showed that when you turn on the strobe light, you see movement inside of his stationary laboratory. He said, can you see that the laboratory is not moving? Yeah. And the guy says, yes. And he says, well, you see that shadow there on my instrumentation on the ceiling? He said, you see the shadow is moving, don't you? And he said, yes. He said, well, that shows that the solar energy is rotating. And he said, this is where scientists go wrong, because they are deceived by their senses and they see everything in reverse. He said, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? You see your reverse image. That is the reverse image of you. And this is how scientists see the whole world. They see only effects because they are materialists. They are not spiritualists. They're not transcendentalists. They have not activated their higher minds, and they can't use their minds. They have not use of their minds. All they have is their programming and their education and their pseudoscience, and they keep repeating and regurgitating that.
Copies, no originals.
So his experiment, I suppose, his experiment would be that he did be very similar to the Michelson-Morley experiment that also detected no movement in the Earth relative to light. It looks like quite a similar type of, well, it's a different setup, but same results using a different method. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And so how did they counter the Michelson-Morley and Sagnac experiments as well? They invented
protons,
No, they actually created a lie, the Lorentz contraction.
Yeah.
Well, does anyone want to explain that, or do you want me to?
Oh, you can. I was just going to mention that it's probably along the same lines. When Einstein did his thesis on the electrodynamics of moving bodies, he acknowledged the Michelson-Morley experiment as being valid in his theory, and you never learned that in school. And he also acknowledged, the results of Maxwell, which would be very similar. There's no motion, and he took all the motion out of everything and made it a stationary reference plane, and that's how he got around that problem. So carry on with the Lorentz contraction force.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm trying to find something on the internet. I should have prepared that, because here it is, Lorentz-Fitzgerald contraction. What they did, okay, basically what they did was Michelson-Morley set up a massive machine called the interferometer, okay, to see if they could shoot beams of light across, going with the flow, against the flow, with the flow of the spin of the Earth, so-called spin of the Earth, to see if they could detect, interference patterns in the recombined waves once they split the light wave in 90-degree directions. Okay, so they recombined the wave, and then they found that there was no interference patterns, proving that light is moving in the ether, in the field, the solar energy field, rather than we are moving. Easy to prove. So Lorentz and Fitzgerald check it out, the Lorenz-Fitzgerald contraction. They came up with this to nullify or to try and cancel the Michelson-Morley experiment. They said that the steel parts of the machinery, which was shooting the light forth, which was going against the grain of the spin of the Earth, it contracted. So it shrunk in size. So parts of the machine shrank due to the violent, vicious spin of the Earth, proving that the Earth is showing that, yes, the Earth is still spinning, because steel parts in experiments shrink. This is how evil these demons are. And you get these upside down, half-cocked, half-witted globies who are spinning and rotating and seed wasting all day long, and they'll quote that rubbish. And they think that Lorenz and Fitzgerald, like Einstein and Newton, are real scientists. Because they learned that.
One of their favorite terms is, what do they call it, renormalization? Yeah, that's a nice way of politically correct. Yeah, they renormalize everything.
Yeah, they renormalize because they have to bring people down to dumb level. So what people are doing is, because they give so much clout to all of these institutions, they stay with the herd mind, they stay with the crowd, and the scriptures warn you, the Bible says, do not follow the crowd. Do not follow the crowd. You seen those sheep, the first sheep that goes off the cliff? And all the other bar sheepies go, oh, let's go where he's going. And they plunge themselves off the cliff to their death. And this is what will happen to the ones who cling to their beliefs and not the truth. Here we are being witch hunted, ridiculed, because we are seeking truth and not to be sitting on our belief laurels. And this is the state of planet dumb at the moment, guys. This is what we're living on. We're living in a cesspool of stupidity. Everywhere is stupidity, everywhere, where the demons have controlled the minds of idiots. And they are buying and selling and eating and drinking, and the flood came and swept them all away. Oh yeah, but they'll be laughing at the flat earthers for falling off the edge of the earth. Yeah, oh yeah. And they're not falling off the bottom of the Santa ball. Yeah. They have a good laugh at our expense. Oh yes, well, the flat earthers, they better be careful. They might fall off the edge of the earth one day. Well, this is the funny thing. There has never been a report of anyone to fall off the edge of the earth, for a start. And secondly, whoever you are saying that, you're upside down saying that. That's how stupid you are saying that. You're upside down, idiot, and you're falling off the bottom of the Santa ball, you dunce. That's my reply. Because think about it. If gravity's a constant, or relatively constant, and you're at the equator, at Ecuador, and I've been there. No, let's do it this way. Okay, so you're living in Alaska on the top of the Santa ball, and gravity is holding you down. So then you go down to Tasmania or New Zealand or Chile at the bottom of the Santa ball, and gravity does the same thing. All right, well, fair enough. Let's grant it that it may work. It may work if you're on a large body spinning and there is such a thing as gravity. But where's the differential? Surely, if you're standing on top, gravity must act a little bit differently than when you're standing on the bottom spinning. Surely, it cannot be so uniform that it is exactly the same at the North Pole as gravity as it is at the equator. I don't see people walking around with lead boots at the equator, and I don't see people flying off at the North Pole because of the angular motion, not the angular velocity, not the linear velocity up there is well, it's voided out, and therefore gravity, there's no centrifugal thrust like at the equator. Hence, you know, you must be just freaking sucked into the earth. It must be so hard to walk, you know, past the 80th parallel. You know, it must be just, or the 70th even. I mean, surely there must be some differential. No, the Globy will tell you that there's not.
There's not, yeah.
Yeah, oh, there's none. No, there's none. But gravity works.
Well, I was going to
Santos.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, you go for it, Karen. Right.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, Santos, can you please just for a moment just look at some of Chris's work?
I have.
Yeah. I was gonna say I have actually calculated that. I think it was like 0.033% or weight change at the equator due to the centrifugal spin, and so it would work out to like, you know, 1/3 of a pound per 100 pounds, that type of thing, or 1/3 of a kilogram per 100 kilograms. That would actually be the differential. Yeah, it's quite, then people say, well, that isn't very much, and I said, yeah, but consider the weight of all the oceans that are fluid. And as you know, as the ball spins, it's exponential growth in mass. So what happens to the water? Right. Yeah.
Oh, the water molecule expands as well, and it gets bigger and fatter.
Yeah, it doesn't travel towards the equator based on velocity at all. No. Yeah.
Yeah, the water's getting fatter. You see, the water's eating junk food, so it's obese at the moment, and it's growing with the Earth growing. Yeah. And Santa Claus is coming down the chimney on December the 25th, guys.
Coming down the chimney, yeah.
Well, Chris, if
I'll
you
do a
could,
screen share there and
explain,
just kind of.
So I was going to say, if you can explain maybe the gravity as a charge, would that be possible in a short time?
Yeah, it's exactly how Santos was just wife. You know, I've agreed. I agree with what Santos is saying. It's a different, like gravity. The 9.8 meters per second squared is just a derivative, which is just the differential between the dielectric field and the magnetic field. Like a dielectric field and the magnetic field, there's a differential that's a constant because it's biased towards the positive. So we're, you know, humans are pretty much walking dielectric fields. I mean, we're water and carbon, and calcium in our bones, and so it's actually, gravity is actually holding us up in that sense. It's the dielectric or diamagnetic forces that are actually holding us up in our skeletons, and then we feel the force in reverse is just a positive bias that's holding us down, and that's all it is. So yeah, I agree with everything that Santos is saying. Makes 100% sense to me.
Yeah, well, I was wondering as well when Santos was talking about the dark discs or the other discs, if that could go along with maybe explaining some of this static discharge that goes on.
Yeah,
well,
yeah, well, all those discharges, they are when the two field modalities of dielectricity and magnetism move against each other, electrification occurs. Okay, this is how Ken Wheeler explains it, and it's the best way to explain it. They're just field modalities. Okay, there's rest and motion, Krishna and Radharani. That's all there is. That's all there ever was. The black light, the black cubes, that's Krishna. Krishna rests because Krishna is Christ, crest, rest. Resting light is black light. Moving light, motion, force, that's magnetic. Magnetism is the mother of the universe. That's Radharani, Mary, the Virgin, Mary Magdalene, Isis. She is the white light. Contrary to how people have put it. They see the yin and yang, the black yin and yang, and they say black is feminine and white is masculine. No, it's the other way around. The male energy is resting energy. Okay? It is dielectric black light. It is resting forever. And it is going into counter space. That's where the rest is. And magnetism, the consort of dielectricity, the other field modality, is its partner. Co-eternal, coexistent, conjugate, the principle of the universe. So we have principles and attributes. The attribute of light is illumination. So God is doing as well as being. And light is all about doing, the transverse wave. The transverse wave is stilled by the longitudinal wave of pulses and rarefactions. And those pulses and rarefactions, that's the true nature of the universe. It's spiritual. See, there's no particle wave duality universe. It's a pulse wave duality universe. The pulse is Adam, Adam, dum dum, dum dum. Listen to your heartbeat. Dum dum produces a wave, just like when you throw a pebble into a still pond. That's the pulse. The pulse drops into the water and you see concentric waves expanding outwards, expanding, and some of them are interference waves and etc. and cancelling waves, but they're always going outward, outward, outward. Those waves, that's Eve. The waves on the water. Eve. Look at the word wave. Take away the W. Ave. Ave Maria. That means the wave of maritime, the wave of marine. And the Spirit of God was working upon the waters, right? The first thing the Bible says in Genesis, first thing about creation, that God's Spirit was moving against the waters. Everything is waters, people. The sun is hydrogen. That's water. Okay, the moon is also hydrogen, that's water. Everything is waters, and the waters is marine. And Ave Maria is the wave, the transverse wave. And she is the partner of the pulse, Adam, dum dum, dum dum. So it's a pulse wave universe created by Adam and Eve. We're all Adamites because we all have atoms. Atom is Adam. And we have an anatomy. Okay, so and so once we realize that the wave is what's deluding us, because in the wave is the time dilation, which causes a space and time bubble. Not in the longitudinal, that's the forever now. You don't have past and future there. Past and future are an illusion created by the space bubble. Think about it simply. When you have a tug of war on a rope, and one party of the tug of war suddenly jerks the rope toward them. Instantaneous reaction at a distance at the other end. And this is what scientists cannot explain, instantaneous reaction at a distance, because they're talking transverse waves. They are electrical materialists. They are not magnetic spiritualists. They know not of magnetism. They are hiding the pulse, the zero tachyon energy of Tesla. Okay, the standing scalar wave. And so what happens is if you loosen that rope now in your tug of war, you loosen it, you slacken it off a bit, and one end decides to create a wave in the rope. Now you have a different wave. There is wave amplitude. Wave amplitude is created now, and not just wavelength. So when you look at a sine wave, you see wave amplitude, yeah, and wavelength. Okay, and depending on the amplitude depends on the energy contained in that packet of a pulse, right? If it's really sharp angle of that wave, well, then it's high energy, see? But if it's a long red wave and the amplitude is low but the wavelength is long, it's a low capacitance energy. So it's all about different frequencies, different wavelengths, and they're all combining and field pressure mediating and self-conjugating as they go throughout the universe. It's orchestrated by the big Om in the heavens, the central sun of the universe, which is Krishna, which is saying Om continuously. Atom, all is atom. And so that main big solar central sun of the universe, which is the Lord of the universe, which is us, is creating these big waves, Ave Maria, with its pulses of rarefaction and compressions. And so that is now it is the bass tone of the universe, and then all of these harmonics and you know, other tones are audible within that main subtone, and then they create their own patterns, and they are all orchestrated into various forms according to their seeds and blueprints in the transcendental realm. See, all atoms have their spiritual atomic counterpart in the transcendental counter space. And from there they manifest when the two field modalities are rubbing against each other and produce electrification. All is produced through electrification. Therefore, El, Emmanuel, Elohim, electricity, elite, elevated, and all of those L's become the god Baal, the false god. Because why? Because he's selling you a time-space bubble. He is playing with the original creator in the sense that he is making sound, and he's making a temporal illusion, because he knows that all temporal illusions, all universes are temporary. All matter is temporary, and it is back of it is a timeless, immortal realm of transcendence, which we can't see because we are bound by our senses. We are limited and conditioned by our senses. Yeah. So I don't know whether I answered that properly or I went right off on a tangent, but all those points there, they're all important for us to understand theology, okay? When you read the Bible, you're reading spiritual science. You know, you're reading natural science. You're learning religious science. Religious science is... Hey?
Do you believe it's a code?
Absolutely, it's encoded. It has to be. You can't write sacred books on a literal plane. Then they are not sacred. The reason they are sacred is because they have other meanings embedded in them. And as I've shown in all my presentations, those other meanings are sometimes biochemical, where everything in the Bible is in your body and it's chemistry. Jerusalem is your pineal gland, and you must go up to Jerusalem to be saved. You know, the baptism is in the heart chakra of John the Baptist. Sodom and Gomorrah are the bottom chakras of your body. So all the Holy Land is your body. Check out my presentation on my YouTube channel, Mr. Astrotheology, called Your Body is the Holy Land, and learn these things. And then go to another presentation, The Secret of Secrets, the Christ within, the elixir of life hiding in your body, and learn about the Christ that is a spiritual psychosomatic cerebrospinal function in your body, which when you perfect your nervous system and purify your blood, you raise the Christ or the oils of the cerebrum back up to the cerebrum, because they've departed from the cerebrum, and go down into the promised land with milk and honey, and down into the land of Canaan, right, to inherit the promised land. It's all in your body. So on one level, everything in the Bible is biochemical. On another level, it's a registry of astronomical phenomena. On another level, because there are 7 levels embedded in the Bible, and I've uncovered all of them. But you have to watch all my presentations, because I've scattered this information throughout there. I've never done a repeat in any of my presentations or any show I've ever done. Ever. Why would I be so boring? You know, why would I be like the pseudoscientists like, you know, Richard Hoagland and all these nutcases who, you know, talk about one thing and the same thing repeated over all of their shows on, you know, shill shows, stations like Coast to Coast that are Jesuit owned. Why would I be that boring? And why would you listen to 5 minutes of Richard Hoagland talking bullshit about material objects on the moon? What a crock of shit. Yeah. Yeah. All of these Santa Claus believers are buying it because they haven't actualized yet. They haven't spiritualized. That's their problem. They are still intelligent materialists. They're intelligent, but they have material intelligence, which Krishna, Christ, and all archetypes totally and utterly disrespect. And they will destroy that material intelligence. That material intelligence produces stupidity like Darwinian evolution, like the Jesuit, what's his name, Pierre, the Big Bang guy. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The Jesuits invented the Big Bang crock of shit. You've got gravity, hocus pocus. You've got the ball, the Copernican ball hypothesis, hocus pocus. And people are totally ready to swallow this crap. Relativity, you know, the theory of relativity, the general relativity and special relativity. All of those were Jesuit counter arguments to try and swindle the plebeian masses not to understand that science has proved that the Earth does not move. All science has proven it, time and time again. Millions of times, endless of times, and they don't have one experiment. They can say, well, here's an experiment. We won't just say that they failed. We'll actually produce an experiment. Finally, after 500 years of inquisition, of murdering people who wanted to stay stationary and flat. That's why the Inquisition happened, guys, because of the nature of the cosmos. The demons had to change the nature of the cosmos to enslave us. Before that, we were free, and we were astrologers, and we were philosophers and alchemists. Now we're dumbasses.
Yeah.
Now we're a bunch of dumbasses.
Are you doing any courses and so forth in Australia on the basic self-sufficiency and growing and you know, natural gardening and using the dielectrics and that type of thing in the growing process?
Yeah. What we're going to do is we're going to start, hopefully, we tried to start it a few years ago, but then this property was raided by a SWAT team and took me to prison for 7 weeks, and the guys who own the property, the Makunda, a beautiful man who I love very much, they put him in jail for 6 weeks as well, just for protecting me, and they smashed up his house. And we were ready to do retreats, 4 2-week retreats, one per season, back in 2016. So now we're aiming for the start of 2018. We're getting the property ready. We've got everything's ready for people to come and camp here. People can stay with me in my cottage. I've got 6 or 7 spare rooms in my beds in my cottage, and they've got heaps of big master bedroom suites up there at the top house, and we've got bunks to sleep in. And what we'll do is we're going to start what I call, let's see if I can remember, I coined this phrase when I was in prison, because I was thinking, what will I call the concept that I want to develop, which will be the perfect model for the world to advance in spirituality and truth and honor and glory and freedom. And I called it syncretism, off-the-grid permaculture. Hang on. Syncretism, off-the-grid permaculture, raw, no, not raw food necessarily. Raw food will be included, but vegan detox ashram. That's what we want to do. So we want to give syncretic science to people, which is religious science properly done. We want to give off-the-grid free energy modalities, permaculture. So off-the-grid permaculture, vegetarian detox lifestyles is what we're going to be teaching. We do detoxing. We do only organic, vegetarian. You don't have to be vegan. That's not necessary. Milk is good for you. Cow's milk, straight from the cow. As long as the cow has not been abused, as long as the cow has plenty of milk for her young ones, and the cow loves you and you love the cow, and the cows were given to us to give us these things. Some people may object to that because they say, oh, it's cow pus and it's only for you know, the calves. But if you look into Vedic science, which is more ancient than these ideas, it shows that we can get our animal products and we can use them and they can help us and we can help them. We don't eat them and murder them. You don't murder animals and you don't partake in the eating of the dead corpses. This is not what a philosopher does. Sorry to preach this, but I'm trying to, you know, encapsulate all that we stand for. We stand for only the good things and the real things that were once stood by. Once upon a time in Europe, we had Neoplatonic academies, and then Justinian in 527 shut down the academies by edict and papal bull, political edict. And so Justinian, the creator of dog Latin, and his wife who removed the concept of reincarnation from the Bible, they started this movement of enslaving mankind. And how they did that was they introduced Aristotle's buffoonery of material science, and they removed Plato and Pythagoras's and the Neoplatonists' true wisdom of spiritual science. And that's how come we're a bunch of dumbasses today, because of Justinian.